Buenas tardes a todos.
Good afternoon,
Bienvenidos
everybody,
una tarde más
and
a los
welcome
Encuentros
to
Zinemaldía.
these
Una de las ventajas
Zinemaldia
que tiene el
Meetings.
hecho de
One
haber
of the
estado durante unos cuantos
advantages
años aquí en el
of
festival,
being
aquí en
here
el
for
Víctor
several
Eugenia,
years in the
es que nos
Victory
permite
Eugenia
seguir las carreras
is
de los
that
directores.
we
Es el
can
caso de
follow
hoy porque
the
los dos
career
directores que
of
nos acompañan
different
han
film
estado
directors,
antes en
which
los
is the
encuentros y es un placer
case
para
today,
nosotros que
because we
sigan
have different
viniendo
directors
a
that
los
have been
encuentros, que sigan presentando
previously
sus películas
in
en
the
San
Zinemaldia
Sebastián y un
Meetings, and we
privilegio
are very
porque, como
happy
digo,
to
nos
see them
permite
progress
seguir sus carreras
and
película
to have
a
the
película.
opportunity
A los dos equipos que
to
nos
watch
acompañan hoy,
their
les voy a
films,
pedir
their
que
new
les recibamos,
films.
como siempre, con
So
un
please
fortísimo aplauso.
welcome our directors and our crews with a warm applause.
Hello, how are you? Nice to meet you again. Muchas gracias por venir.
Thank you for coming.
Nuestro primer equipo de hoy
Our
es la
first crew
película
today
lituana
is
Nematoma.
coming from
Nos acompaña su
Lithuania.
director, Ignas
Is
Joaninas, su
the
guionista,
film
Kristupas Saboli,
Nematoma,
y uno
and
de
we
sus
have
actores,
Ignas
Darius
Joinas, Kristupas
Bakciunas.
Sabolis,
Ellos habían
and
estado
Darius
antes con su
Bakciunas.
primera película,
They came
The
here to
Gambler,
the
el
festival with
jugador,
their
que se presentó
first
en la
film,
sección
The
de los
Gambler,
Ahora vienen
which
con la
was
segunda película que
presented
también
in a
se
different
vuelve a
section, and
competir en la
this year,
sección
no, in the same section,
nuevos directores.
in the new
Bueno, creo que tenéis
directors
muy
section.
reciente
I
la
think
presentación de ayer.
that
Me
the
gustaría que
film
empezarais
was
comentando
shown
cómo fue
for
un
the first time
poquito o cuál es
yesterday.
vuestra
How was
sensación
it?
después de
How
haber
was the reaction
presentado
of the public, and
la
what was your
película.
impression?
Muchas gracias, Escaricasco. First of all, I would say that it's completely different premiere than we had just a few weeks before in Lithuania, because you know, here people are very sensitive, the audience, very intelligent, and they don't have any prejudice. So it was very polite meeting and a beautiful Q&A session. I like a lot it.
La película trata varios
Film
temas. Por un
deals with
lado,
different
es una
topics.
historia
On one
de
hand, it
una
is a
venganza,
story
es
about
también una historia, una
vengeance.
crítica a la televisión.
It
Digamos,
is also
son
a
temas
criticism
que son
against
muy difíciles de
television,
conjugar, pero
and
que
there
han
are
conseguido,
many different
digamos,
topics
unir de
that
manera muy natural en la
that aren't
película. ¿Qué
easy
fue
to
primero, la
combine.
historia del
What
crimen
came
o esa
first? Was it the
historia
crime story,
de televisión?
or was the criticism against television?
Casco, muchas gracias. No puedo hablar español, lo entiendo un poco. Yes, basically we with Ignas, we write the script on average amount of time is 4 years, you know. So we spend 4 years trying to discover what we need to talk about. So it's a constant dialogue trying to address the topic, the theme. So before writing concrete scenes and developing the plot, we have this dialogue, writing down just elements of the theme that bothers us. So of course, we started from the topic of manipulation in general, in television, of course, in our private lives, of course, in social life, in politics, everywhere. Manipulation is very omnipresent. And we tried to find a proper plot to represent the theme. But then we discovered that manipulation brings us to a more deeper subject, which is the origin of truth and reality. What is real and what is truthful? So basically, we came up with a crime story, which is always, you know, crime stories, especially because we followed the neo-noir genre. We consider our stories as a neo-noir film. In crime stories, the main character, the anti-hero, tries to discover the truth of his or her own, usually. So the crime story is a very powerful tool to talk about the truth. And we thought that they fit together very well. So basically, I would say that the theme brought us to the crime story, and then, of course, the TV world was as a part of the topic of reality as well.
Ahora seguimos hablando, pero vamos a ver algunas imágenes.
Continue talking right now, but let's watch a clip. The main character is, at the beginning, we don't know exactly how he is involved in a crime, and he gets introduced to another person, and he plays, he pretends to be blind.
Jonai, galėčiau jums užduoti asmeninį klausimą. O jūs visai nematote ir šiek tiek matote? Nieko nematau.
Ką praleido?
Matyti tą patį, ką ir aš.
Parodo stiklį. Ten apačioj plakatas kabo, parašyta tiesa jūs išlaisvins. Kas čia pasakė?
Gerai zulinė.
Kas pasakė? Jonas? Evangelistas.
Graži mintis. Nu, ko tu esi išlaisvins?
Nuo nuodėmės.
Klausyk, vyriškasis tėvelis. Tiesa yra tokia. Nuo šiol man mokėsi 1000.
Bueno, pues ahí veíamos imágenes de la
See
película,
here
un
some
pedazo de tráiler.
images of
Y en la
the
película yo
picture.
tengo la
It's
sensación de que habéis querido que el espectador participe en la historia.
And then I had a feeling that you wanted the
imaginando
public to participate in the story, and you suggest different topics, but you let the public imagine the rest. And I had the feeling that you were trying to strip off the film so that the story suggests a lot but doesn't show everything. And I could recognize, I think, a great work of stripping off.
Yes, you said our title in Lithuanian, nematoma. Nematoma. Actually, it means invisible. The meaning of title is invisible. And we try to hide the truth. And actually, that's the main theme of the film. And we try to, let's say, it's film about manipulation, but film itself is manipulation as well. So we manipulate a little bit, and we try to find the way how to lead the audience till the end without a concrete answer. So that was the main task for us, like scriptwriters.
Darius, en ese sentido, para un actor es más
Yes,
complicado.
for an actor, that means it becomes more difficult because you are not allowed to show all the information that you might have on your character. The character that you're playing is searching for vengeance. It's the only thing that we know at the beginning. But we don't know why or against whom or anything. And you know all that, but you have to restrain yourself.
So yes, absolutely. I had to basically act with minimum movement, minimum body language, minimum face language, and minimum spoken language. And the most interesting thing is the duality of the character. And in the trailer, I start like a classical antagonist, a guy with a gun, and trying to blackmail, yeah? But in the end, everyone would decide who is the bad guy and where the boundaries between good and evil will stand. Because basically there are no good and there are no evil characters in the movie. Everybody is both. And that makes a very interesting game for a viewer to decide for himself, for herself, after watching the movie.
El principal
The
actor,
main
el personaje que lleva la
actor
película, digamos, se interpreta a un
plays
se hace pasar por ciego,
someone who
y se
pretends
presenta
to
un
be
talent show,
blind
de danza.
and
Y la verdad es que su estilo de danza es cuanto menos
comes
extraño.
to a
¿Cómo
dance
trabajaste las
contest, but
coreografías y
he
de dónde
dances in a
viene
very weird
este
way.
tipo de danza que
So
interpretan en un talent show?
where did you get the idea of this type of dance and these strange choreographies?
Yeah, it was the really tough part of the film, because you know, when you're writing the script, you of course you can write something that okay, two guys dancing now, but in our plot, dancing means more than just the movements. In a way, it's the idea of the truth, because when we tried with Christopher to find where is the truth in our film, so we decided that the truth only in one thing, is in the movement, in the dance movement. You can cheat and fake the movement. you even do the right thing or the wrong thing with the movement. And that's the idea which splits in two pieces. One dance part is shown only on TV screens. That was what's happened in the TV studio with the audience, with us show off, with everything. But we never shoot it inside of the studio. We always show it through the TV screen. But the second part is shown only in the rehearsals, which is really important, like dramaturgy plot, because we develop a relationship between main characters, Jonas and Saule, and the dance helps to say unseen things, which is feelings.
¿Y los actores tenían experiencia, un background como
Actors have any experience as dancers?
en danza?
It's yeah and yes and no, because Dainius Kazlauskas, actor who played the main character Jonas, he had a background in the past. When he was in school, he was a sport dancer, and Paulina has some course of ballet dancing. So they had some experience, but not much actually. And in any way, it was the gap for 20 years for the main character. So we had a tough time before shooting, at least 2 months, sometimes 12 hours per day, just to rehearse dancing.
Hay otro tema que no hemos mencionado, pero que está
A
en la
topic that we
película, que
didn't
es
mention
la
in the
religión,
film, and
una
it's
importancia
religion.
fundamental
Religion
a través
is
del personaje
very,
del
very
pastor.
important in this film
¿Qué
through the
función
character
dentro
of
de
the
la
pastor.
película,
What is the role
completa
that he plays
el tema de la religión
in
y
the
el
film,
personaje
and
del
what
pastor?
is the role of the religion?
Yes, you're right. Religion is the field which brings us to a question of the guilt. You know, we constantly, because we wanted to approach the main themes of the film, even in philosophical manner. We wanted, to ask what is truth, and truth is always something subjective. The objective truth doesn't exist. Whenever we say what is truth, we say something, a manipulated sentence, what is truth for us. So religion talks about the truth a lot, but also talks about the guilt. So in a way, we found this confrontation through the topic of religion and also of the priest who has his own crimes in a way, and I don't want to spoil the movie, but it's a very complicated character, in order to show that we are all guilty in a way. Everyone is guilty. Everyone is the character of a crime, his own crime story. However, this crime story brings you to something sacred, and in opposition to the superficial religiosity, we have nature. Nature is sacred for us. In our movie, nature, corporeal, material plane is something that is almost divine. You see, Ignas talked about dancing, which is body language. You cannot fake body language. But also we have animals, we have nature, which brings us to the question of unseen truth. If you want to see the truth in our film, which cannot be shown, you should see the images of nature.
Decías, Ignas, al principio que la película
See,
llevado
you
bastante
said that the
tiempo
film
de producción, y se ha
needed a
producido
long
también gracias al
production
apoyo de
time,
Local in
and it
Progress,
could be
un programa
produced
que,
thanks to the program
también
Local in
Festival de San Sebastián, que es
Progress.
un programa que
That
apoya
is
a
a
las
program
lenguas
that we
en
have in the film
Latinoamérica, ¿no? La
festival to
película
support
está hablada en
new
hispano.
projects.
¿Qué papel
And what was the
ha
role
jugado el programa Local in Progress
of
y cómo ha sido
Local
vuestra
in
experiencia en este
Progress
programa?
played in your film?
I said when I get this prize that I felt like win the lottery without the ticket. So that was the feeling, when you are struggling a lot to produce the film, and you have quite long distance, like marathon, and in the end you feel that your breath is going out, it's the last breath, and suddenly someone said, "Okay, we trust you. Let's continue." So for me it was very exciting moment, very important in production and in my own It's some self-confidence, yeah. So that's very important, and I'm really thankful for San Sebastian for such a prize.
Sí, porque la película, parte de la postproducción la terminasteis
The
aquí, ¿no?
post-production was also done here, I think.
Yeah, in Madrid. Yeah, and thanks for all these professionals. I had the best time with the high-level professionals in Madrid in all post-production states. So I'm really happy.
Vosotros formáis un equipo ya
You
consolidado,
are a
no sé si tenéis
consolidated
proyectos de
crew.
futuro,
You've
o si
been working for a long time
seguir
together.
trabajando
What are
juntos.
your future endeavors? Are you going to continue working together?
Actually, we now decided to write scripts separately. Christopher has his own, me too. But nevertheless, we will see the future. Someday, I think we connect again.
Just add on, you know, we're very good friends, and maybe we spent 12 years writing 2 scripts. So basically, starting from 2007 with Gambler, which was premiered here in San Sebastian, and then Nematoma again, and we spent 12 years writing. So we said, okay, maybe we need a moment, of course, to think about our, to reflect on our ideas. But I'm not sure. Maybe it will bring us to new projects, maybe on different composition. But I don't think we'll stop here. In a way, we'll get back to each other one day.
Esperamos que no. Perdón. Digo que espera.
Yeah, I totally agree. And when Christopher said 12 years and we are still new directors program, it's quite promising. We still feel young,
But you can't repeat as new director anymore.
That's the last now. Yeah.
Pero bueno, en otras secciones sí que os
Can
esperamos.
come back to another section, hopefully. So we hope to see your future projects here in the film festival. And thank you very much for this very suggestive film full of different faces.
Thank you. Thank you. Gracias. Bueno, decíamos al principio que hoy nos
At the
acompañan
beginning
gente que
that
nos ha acompañado
we
otras veces aquí en el
have
club,
guests
Eugenia.
that have already been with us in the film festival. Our next guest represents the film Waiting for the Barbarians.
Él es el director,
We have Ciro Guerra, who is the film director with us. He was here with his film Birds of Passage. And this film director has been fighting for a long time to produce it, and we have to produce it with us. Ciro, first question. Well, we're very happy to see you here again. This is your first international shooting, and it is the first big film in English, and it's a very risky jump because you were shooting in Italian, in a very well-known culture, and now you're shooting in a different culture with another language, and some directors get lost in this huge jump. And I wanted to ask you if you considered this risk of moving from the known environment to working with stars, etc. Well, I had some fears and some questions, of course, because you pose questions to yourself. But at a certain moment, you leave them aside when you find a story that is important and that you really want to tell. And this story becomes a driver to your work. So the importance of what you're explaining here is what gives you the connection with this story, and it's what gives you impulse to forget about fear and forget about questions. Because in this story and in this impulse, you find the tools to tell this story, which is very important. In every project I've been working in, they were all very different, and I found different ways, different possibilities, different fears as well. And I think the story is the guide for me, is what guides me. And I try to concentrate on the story and not to think who are the actors that I'm working with, or because that opens the door to fear, and I want to keep it real. So the truth is that as long as I have a story that is important for me to tell, I can concentrate, and it's very good because it keeps you alive and it keeps you moving, it gives you energy, and it gives you awe, which is very important. When you are shooting a film, it's like trying to keep a candle lighten up in the middle of a storm, and you're doing whatever you can to keep it burning, and you need a story with a very strong light. Well, for those who hasn't seen it, it's a very big film with Johnny Depp, with Hollywood stars. It's a big production, and it is based on a book by Coetze, the South African writer. But I wanted to go back to the beginning. I think that you have been trying very hard for years to bring this to light. How did the idea start?
It started with my reading the book in 1989, 30 years ago, and contacting John Coetzee in South Africa and asking him if he would let me have the rights to the book, and which he agreed to do because he had seen some of my films and liked them. And then I asked him to write the screenplay because I thought, who else could do as good a job as this? And he had never written a screenplay before. And so we met in Switzerland. He came from South Africa and I came from the United States. And we spent a week or so talking over what might be. And he wrote the script, and that is the script that we shot almost 30 years later. So it started with him in the early 90s. And I had tried, I've made a lot of films since then, but I had tried on many an occasion to make it, and always failed. And seeing Mark Rylance, whom I didn't know, in a film called The Bridge of Spies, re-inspired me because I thought he was the perfect man to play the magistrate. And with Mark Rylance, and Chira was a suggestion of the author, of John Coetzee. And which Mark was enthusiastic about, and so we went to see it, and he was enthusiastic, and there we go.
Vaya, Ciro, me imagino que si un premio Nobel de literatura te propone como director, no puedes decir que no, ¿no? ¿Cuál era tu relación o por qué te conocía? Me imagino que conocía tus películas.
Yes, because he had seen, at the time he had made a second film, or his second famous film. So John had seen Embrace of the Serpent. El embarazo de la serpiente.
I had the opportunity of meeting Marcus before, and when Michael called me, I was pursuing many different projects, and my last project had been very well welcomed, The Embrace of the Serpent, and I felt close to the idea because the source of the idea was terrific, as you can imagine, and it was very surprising as well. And so I wanted to go to the very core, the very essence of the novel, and try to reproduce Coetze's literary language, which is quite a task. So when Mark Rylance talked to me about that, I was involved in another project, but I knew that the essence of the film was going to be that main character, and so I thought it was a great opportunity, and it was a gift to be able to work with Mark Rylance, with Johnny Depp, with Michael. It was. I couldn't doubt about it when they asked me. When a director works with a foreign script, he has to own it. So I suppose you needed to change things in order to own the script. Or I don't know if you didn't feel the freedom to do so because it's Coetze. Come on, how are you going to change anything? Yes, I was a bit worried because it's a Nobel Prize winner, you know. And at the beginning it was complicated complicated for me and strange, but when I met John Petzia, I saw that he was really enthusiastic and he was very generous. And so there is always an adaptation process, which was not drastic in this case. I was very respectful with the original, but I tried to adapt the script to my own sensibility. And he never complained, he never doubted, and he was very, very generous. He was in Morocco with us while we were producing the film, and he participated in the process. So let's talk about the main theme, in the main topic of the film. It is a reflection on the reaction against some barbarians who in fact don't exist. Is it a kind of an allegory or a parable, or why did you approach this way?
Well, it's a film about a crisis of conscience, which can overtake any one of us at any time. And as far as I was concerned, I mean, I've only in my life made films about characters with whom I identify. So for me, it was me in the position of the magistrate, a person who doesn't want to see, like most people, who doesn't want to see the bad, tries to turn away, tries desperately to do everything to get away from it, but in the end, when confronted with it, has to stand up and say, no, I will not do this. And for me, the resolution of this crisis of conscience and how a man, any man, arrives at the moment where he will not collude with something bad going on is, for me, the essence of life. And I think it is as well realized in this character of the magistrate as in any character I've ever known in literature. And that's what attracted me to it.
We started shooting this film, we thought that it was a kind of an allegory. It was a kind of story that could show very universal themes or topics. And it happens in a very in a very strange place. I mean, it's out of reality. It's very far away from everything known, and this is what gives it a character of allegory. And so in the end, we are here. We could show the film to the public, and it's happening now. Ciro, I want to talk to you about, or with you about, cinema's references. Is it a Western?
Lo asombroso de la novela.
Well, what is astonishing in the novel is that you can picture it the way you want. Any person that reads the book can fill in the gaps the way they want. So there are people who think it might be a Western, and so they think it's the law imposing on others. But I didn't make that link. I related it more with the paramilitaries that arrived to a small village and tried to impose brutality on justice and consciousness. But you can read it in so many places and in so many contexts. You can place it in Lampedusa, you can place it in the crisis in the United States, you can place it in the border between Tibet and China. The most surprising thing of this Coetze's story is that you can superpose it on anything, even the Western, because it's a story that you can see repeated once and again in human history. And I never thought that I would feel it or see it in my life, and I did.
I just have one little thing to add. In the preparation of this film, the 2 years that we prepared this film, the film that we most talked about as a reference was a Japanese film called Woman of the Dunes. That was the thing that actually was most on our minds, as opposed to Westerns and sagas and so on.
El paisaje es muy importante en ese sentido. Yo creo que
is very important in the film, and I think it has to do a lot with your Birds of Passage, the previous work. How was the presence of the landscape when you were preparing the film?
How was the shooting and how was working in Morocco and how did the landscape influence the production?
Morocco was fantastic. We had hoped to make the film in the Atacama Desert of northern Chile because the landscape of the Atacama has never been filmed before, and it's at high altitude and so wild as to be sort of almost inconceivable that it's on Earth, if you will. But we had to repair to Morocco, which was really wonderful. We shot the desert scenes very close to the border with Algeria, 400 miles south of Marrakesh. And but our whole idea was to make the place I hope that if people see the film and they don't stay for the end roller and they don't know where it's shot, that they would never know. We had birds from Asia. All the bird sounds are from Central Asia. We got them from the Cornell Ornithology Lab in the United States. The costumes, the uniforms, nothing speaks to North Africa, or nothing speaks to. We really were trying to do this, and some people have berated us for doing that. Well, who cares? It was one of the objectives that we had, and I think we did rather well in that. But it was a wonderful experience shooting in Morocco. It's a wonderful place to make movies.
Hay algo muy interesante en torno a lo que comentabas.
Something very interesting in what you said. You said that the film is placed in the middle of nowhere. You don't know where it is. And did you think at a certain point that it could be risky or made it more difficult for the public to identify because it's placed nowhere?
Of course. Yes, but risk, good Lord. There are plenty of movies that are set in New York and San Sebastian and Rome and this, that, and the other. If the story that you're telling, if a public can identify with let's say, the central character of the story, and the crisis of conscience is real, and what is happening that causes this crisis of conscience is real, then I think take every risk you can.
That's out advice.
Another thing that I wanted to talk to you about is that it is the first time that you work with stars, with Hollywood stars, with Mark Rylance, with Johnny Depp, with Robert Pattinson. What was the experience? How was it? How did you prepare the characters with them? Was it a very personal work? In my experience, every actor is different. There are professional actors, or there are theater actors, or there are amateurs, or big Hollywood stars. It doesn't matter. Every actor is a human being with whom you have to establish a personal contact and to develop a language. And so for me, of course, it was new to work with these big stars who are in the best moments of their career and are very, very talented, and who have worked with the best directors. So I was thrilled, of course. But in the end, each one of them is proposing something, and they were all very humble and very enthusiastic about the film, and it was very easy to work with them. They got involved in the project very, very easily, and they were not doing it out of the wages or anything. They were really thrilled about the story, and they really wanted to tell the story, and that helped me a lot. And they were really open. And each one of them has a different working method. And they really do. They work very, very differently. And it was my duty and my task to create a common language. But these different approaches they had on the characters, in the end, summed up, and they enriched the film and enriched the characters and all these different methods. Indian developed a common language, and every single one of them was learning from the way of approaching the characters and their techniques from the others, etc. So in the end, it was very enriching. Robert has a different way of, they all have a kind of poetry in the way they approach the characters. They don't come all from the same school or from the same background, but they were all very happy to participate in the project and to work together. So they were exchanging techniques, and as one of them came from very big films with a lot of special effects, or another came more from theater, the other one. But I think they all enjoyed the experience. Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to congratulate you for the film and for pushing forward with this project that is so interesting, even though it cost you 30 years. It took you 30 years, but it is very important. I congratulate you as well, Zero, for jumping up to the higher leagues. And we hope to see your next project here in the Film Festival in San Sebastian as well, and see you around in the festival. Thank you very much. See you tomorrow.